Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at nonprofits and how they can benefit from thinking more like entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating area where the lines between the business world and the social sector can get kind of blurry.
Right, and how can we learn from each other?
Exactly.
And for this deep dive, we're looking at a paper called Nonprofit Entrepreneurial Orientation, the role of human capital and stakeholder engagement capability.
Quite a title.
Yeah, for sure. So what does it actually mean for a nonprofit to be entrepreneurial? Like, are we talking about turning a profit here?
No, not at all. It's really about applying those creative and proactive approaches that we often associate with, businesses and startups and using those to advance their social mission.
Okay, so it's not about the bottom line. It's about how they can better serve their communities and really have that positive impact.
Right. It's about finding innovative ways to achieve their goals.
So let's get specific here. Can you give me an example of what that might look like in the real world?
Sure. So the paper talks about one nonprofit that significantly boosted their fundraising by actually involving the people they serve in designing their annual campaign.
Oh.
So by understanding their needs and preferences, they were able to create a campaign that really resonated deeply with their audience.
It makes so much sense when you put it like that. It's not just about, coming up with a catchy slogan or something. It's about truly understanding the people you're trying to help.
Absolutely. And this leads us to a really important concept that the paper emphasizes stakeholder engagement.
Okay, so we hear that term a lot, but I imagine it has a slightly different meaning for nonprofits.
Yeah, for sure. It goes beyond just donors, which is often who we think of with businesses. It's about volunteers, people they serve, government agencies, and even the broader community.
So it seems like stakeholder engagement for nonprofits is more complex than for traditional businesses.
Oh, definitely. NPOs have a much wider range of stakeholders to consider, and their interests can sometimes be at odds with each other. Like, imagine trying to balance the needs of donors who want to see measurable results with the needs of beneficiaries who might require more long-term support.
Yeah, that sounds tricky. How do they navigate that? It's like walking a tightrope sometimes, right?
Yeah, it really is. And that's where this entrepreneurial orientation comes in. It gives them the flexibility to be more innovative and responsive to the different needs of all their stakeholders. The paper actually found that nonprofits with a strong entrepreneurial orientation are much better equipped to handle these complexities.
So they can find those creative solutions that benefit everyone involved.
Exactly.
So stakeholder engagement is clearly key. But what about the people within the organization? How do their skills and knowledge factor into all of this?
Well, that's where human capital comes in. And the research actually found some really interesting things here. For example, strong human capital among staff and management teams, those who are closest to the action was linked to a much stronger entrepreneurial orientation for the entire organization.
That makes sense, right? Okay, those are the folks on the ground seeing the challenges firsthand and coming up with solutions.
Exactly. But here's where it gets interesting. The study found that a highly skilled board, while super valuable in many ways, can sometimes have a negative impact on entrepreneurial orientation.
Wait, hold on. That seems counterintuitive. Why would a knowledgeable board hinder innovation?
It seems that boards, while crucial for strategy, can get a little too focused on minimizing risk. And that cautious approach can sometimes stifle that innovative spirit that needs room for experimentation and, calculated risk-taking.
Interesting. It's almost like having a really powerful engine, but being afraid to put your foot on the gas pedal.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. You need the right resources,
Mm-hmm.
the human capital, and the willingness to use them to drive innovation and impact. But it's not quite that simple. There's a lot
Yeah.
more to the story.
Okay, so we've got these different pieces, right? We have skilled staff, maybe a less risk-averse board, and then that stakeholder engagement that we talked about. So what happens when you put it all together?
Well, the researchers actually took this a step further, and they looked at different combinations of these factors to see which ones consistently led to a strong entrepreneurial orientation, or EO as they call it in the paper.
Okay.
And they found two really interesting packages that seemed to be real game changers for nonprofits.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me. What's in the first package?
So they called this one the operational package. And it basically comes down to high stakeholder engagement capability combined with strong human capital in the staff and management teams.
So it's like having a really strong team on the ground who are connected to the community and empowered to make decisions.
Exactly. They're really driving innovation from within based on, what they're hearing from the people they serve.
Okay, I like it. What about the second package? You said it was a little unexpected.
Yeah, this one they called the strategic package. It's a little bit different. It still involves that high stakeholder engagement because
Uh-huh.
that's always important. But
Mhm.
this time it's paired with strong board human capital, even when staff and management might not have as much experience.
So hold on, didn't we just say earlier that a really skilled board could sometimes hinder EO?
We did, and that's what makes this finding so interesting. It suggests that in some cases, a really strong board can actually compensate for a less experienced operational team.
So it's like having a really talented coach who can guide a team with a lot of potential, but maybe not as much experience.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It really shows that there isn't just one right way to be successful with entrepreneurial orientation in nonprofits.
That's encouraging. It means that even nonprofits with maybe limited resources can still find ways to be innovative.
Definitely. It really speaks to the adaptability and resilience of the sector.
So this has all been incredibly insightful. But I'm wondering what it means for our listeners out there who are maybe involved with a nonprofit or just interested in supporting these types of organizations.
Hmm.
What's the big takeaway here?
I think the key takeaway is that stakeholder engagement is absolutely crucial for nonprofits to thrive in, today's world.
Right.
It's not just about having a skilled staff or a knowledgeable board. Nonprofits need to be actively building those relationships, really listening to their communities and taking all of that into account when making decisions.
It's about creating a culture of collaboration where everyone feels like they can contribute.
Exactly. And while a strong board can be a huge asset, it can't replace that genuine stakeholder engagement on the ground level. That's where the magic really happens.
You know, this whole idea of nonprofits thinking like entrepreneurs has really changed my perspective.
Yeah.
I think we often underestimate how creative and innovative they actually are.
I agree with that. There's this idea that they should just stick to what they've always done and avoid anything that seems too businessy.
Right.
But really embracing those principles can make them much more effective.
It's about working smarter and not just harder and, being adaptable.
Exactly. And that's what the research shows us. By understanding stakeholder engagement and human capital, they can really reach their full potential.
I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question here. Think about the nonprofits that you interact with. Maybe you donate or volunteer or benefit from their services.
Mm-hmm.
Do they seem entrepreneurial? Are they engaging with their stakeholders and trying new things?
Yeah, and if not, maybe there's an opportunity for you to get involved and help them.
Right.
Share your ideas or volunteer your time or even just start a conversation about how they can have more of an impact.
Because at the end of the day, positive change starts with all of us.
Absolutely.
We all have a role to play in supporting organizations that are making the world a better place.
And by encouraging nonprofits to be more entrepreneurial, we can help them create real, lasting, positive change.
That's a great point. Well, I hope this deep dive has given you a new appreciation for the power of entrepreneurial nonprofits. If you enjoyed it, share it with your friends who are also passionate about social impact. And until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world around you.